Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tap Into Your Creativity. I am super excited because my good friend Mark Eanes is back, and I'm going to bring him in, and we have a meeting. Just going to bring him in. Let's see. Okay.
Hi,
Oh,
Sandra.
and there he is. Hey, Mark, welcome again to Tap Into Your Creativity. I'm so excited that we are meeting
Yes,
for the third
yes.
time, I believe, in this program. And I am, okay, so Mark is not only a good friend of mine, I was with him and his amazing wife, Marja, that I love, 2 weeks ago in Benicia, California, where his studio is at. And he is a teacher, a mentor, professor, I guess anything and everything that a man can wear hats is you. And I'm just so proud for you to be back here. And we have exciting news, and I can't wait to dig in. But tell us how are
Busy,
you? How have you been?
very busy. Um, so how about I try to encapsulate it in 2 or 3 sentences? Okay.
That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect. And I'm going to take the comments off, but then I'm going to put them back on at the end. So if you guys have any questions for Mark, we'll do
Great.
that at the end.
Happy to address the questions. So to encapsulate in a few sentences how I am, busy. So after teaching at various art institutes here in the Bay Area for some 33 years, and many of those years, Sandra, I was teaching drawing and painting courses at the California College of the Arts, previously known as Arts and Crafts. And I am retiring after all those many years, and in about 4 or 5 weeks is my last semester. That's number one. So
It's
that's a big deal. I
unbelievable.
knew the day would come. I just didn't know when, but here we are. Terrific.
How are you feeling
And
about
I'm going
that?
out on a great note. I've got 2 wonderful classes of students in drawing and painting, and they're just doing remarkable work. So I couldn't be happier going out the way I'm going out. And that just gives me more time to be in my studio and to be with my wife, Maria. So that's one thing, and that's a big deal, obviously. But on the heels of that, we have decided to leave the Bay Area. I've been here, by the way, pretty much all my adult life, right out of high school, 17 years old. So I'm going back east. We are going back east. We bought a lovely home in Richmond, Virginia, right near the river there. And I've been a renter, Sandra, all my life. So this is another big deal. Owning a home, having some property, nice studio on the back part of the property. I used to be a gardener, so now I can get my hands in the dirt. So that's happening, and we're leaving. We're leaving if all things go well, May 30th, which is right around the corner. So we are kind of knee deep in boxes, as you could imagine. That's our world right now. Everything is sort of
Yes.
like that.
Well, that's a lot of information in like 3 minutes, literally. So
Sure,
let's
sure.
digest that for a second, because it's a big deal. I'm very happy and proud of you that you made this ginormous decision to move and to own your own property. That must feel so good and so appreciative and ready for that
Yeah.
stage in your life to happen. I'm sure there's a lot of anticipation and maybe a little fear of leaving the Bay Area. I was lucky enough to actually be in your space with you in the middle of the chaos, but it's very organized chaos because Maria is incredible. She is so organized. So that must help you because you are also preparing for a new course that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So everything is happening and moving and shaking in really fast pace. So how do you deal with it all and having your mind sharp enough to create now a
Great
new
question.
course?
And I've been teaching full time as well during this whole chapter, both the fall and now the spring semester. And so to answer your question, it's really about just on a given day realizing, okay, what is today all about? Because I can't do it all. So it's about realizing, okay, what is today all about? And then just keeping that focus. Otherwise, one can get scattered. So yes, we've been working on, and we'll talk about it, our third online course, the language of drawing. We've done the language of color, the language of design, drawing, Sandra, with my first love, if you will, going back to when I first started my career. And it's been something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. So that took us the better part of 7 to 8 months, if you could imagine, because we were juggling other things at the same time. But I'm happy and very proud to say that it is now completed. It will be released on April the 15th. And already we've been getting a very good response. So we're very happy about that.
So digging just a little bit, because you know how we love to help people in this program. And, we as artists, I think we're problem solving all the time. And I think that your last semester could say that you've been just like problem solving everything that you are accomplishing. And what are your tools that keep you focused when you're working? Because I think that's important for artists to understand that, life happens and there's so many noise, outside your studio. How do you find that focus to dig in?
That's a really good question. The mind wanders. We're easily distracted, particularly now these days. I think I talk about this a lot, Sandra, when I'm promoting the language of drawing, by saying that we live in an age of distraction. We live in the age of information, but along with that is a lot of distraction and a lot of noise. People are spending way much more time on their screens than ever before, and not just young people, but adults, including myself at times. So I have to be careful about that. I try to be aware of where my attention is and where my focus will be on a given day or even in a given moment. So if I need to be in the studio, and I have been able to be in the studio, either drawing or painting, particularly drawing. I've been doing a lot of drawing lately because of the course. I just turn everything off. I just literally turn everything off. So no phones, no this, no that. And I say to myself, today is my studio day, and that's it. And nothing, Maria understands it, my wife, and gives me that space and that time. And everything has to just go away, frankly. Just because otherwise, if I'm in the studio and then I'm distracted by emails and phone calls and so on and so forth, then the focus really is not there. It's not the same. And that's true for when I teach as well. So I go in 2 days a week to teach 6-hour courses in drawing and painting. It's the same thing. I'm preparing the night before and that morning, and then nothing else. I don't think about anything else. So I guess it's this ability to sort of, categorize, not categorize, but what is the term I'm looking for? Compartmentalize, that's the word. So I'm just able to compartmentalize what it is I need to do on a given day. And that way, I'm not so easily distracted.
So I think that, you touched a very good subject of focusing and applying yourself. And I believe that will goes hand to hand in your new project and in your new class, because you do have to apply yourself and you do have to be serious every single day and really be focusing on drawing, because now we're going to dig into what it is about drawing, the history of drawing, and how important it is to know how to draw. Can we
Absolutely.
talk about that?
Right now I'm reading a really good book. It's over in the living room, and it's by Peter, I want to say Schneider. It's called The Undressed Art, Why We Draw. It's a really wonderful read. I'll try to get it before we leave so you can know the exact title for your and
That'd be
it's a
great.
really wonderful read, by the way. He talks about the fact that we, as a species, as humans, we've communicated in two ways: verbally, written word, and then pictorially, the visual. And, oh, Maria's being so kind as to bring it over. This is it. Peter Steinhardt, I'm sorry, The Undressed Art, Why We Draw. And it's a very good
Perfect.
read. I highly recommend this. And what he says is that, if I can take just a few minutes on this, big question.
Yes,
So
please.
when we're children, we all draw, and we draw symbols at the, he goes into what we do at ages 3, 4 versus 5, 6, 7 versus 8, 9, 10. So it's usually a lot of symbols. We've all seen the drawings of the sun and the house and the trees and the clouds and the family, and that's how we, as children, that's how we see things symbolically. But at around age 8, 9, maybe 10, 11, 12, we stop drawing because our verbal skills and the written word becomes more important to communicate. So pictorially, we pretty much put the pencils and the pens and the brushes down, most of us. Some of us keep going. But art, and I'm bringing this up for a reason, for the most part, that's where we kind of stop drawing, particularly from observation, because usually teenagers will draw from observation. Little girls might draw horses, for instance, and boys will draw tanks and things like that. So there's this whole gender thing. But here's the thing. The brushes go down, the pencils go down, and we've stopped. So that if an adult wants to pick up drawing again or start it for the first time, and you put an object in front of them, they'll draw like a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old because that's where they stopped. And they're drawing, and this is so fascinating, they're drawing, Sandra, not what they see, but what they perceive that thing to be. They're drawing symbols again, in other words. And there's a really high frustration level at that point because they think they don't have what it takes to draw, because they've reverted back to as they drew as a child. Now, I've worked with a lot of people over the years, particularly in the community college level, Sandra. And it just takes good instruction and good homework for the students to get past that quickly. And the key, there's more than one key, but one of the biggest keys is to help people draw what they see, not what they think they see. And there's many wonderful techniques that we cover in the course to help them with that. And so that's a big part of it. Now, the other thing I want to mention is this, and you touched on it. Drawing is a skill. It is a discipline. It is no different than playing the guitar or the piano. We mentioned this over dinner, if you recall.
Yes,
And I make the
I
point
do
that this
recall.
course is really, truly for anyone who wishes to draw. It doesn't matter if they're a beginner, intermediate, or even if they've been drawing quite some time and want a deeper dive. But they have to remember this, or realize this, I should say. It would be like asking someone, do you really want to learn the guitar? Do you really want to learn the piano? Because that's not a small investment of time and energy, and that is not a small commitment. And one doesn't learn a musical instrument by just dabbling now and then. It doesn't work. And so it's a real commitment. This course is in that way, Sandra, it is different from the language of color and the language of design. Not that those courses are also rigorous, they're very rigorous, but this requires a different kind of muscle. But the beauty of it, and here I'm going to make a selling point, if I may be the beauty of this,
Yes, please.
learning to draw, is that it does allow us, in this very difficult age that we are all experiencing, not just the distractions, but the stress that we feel, even just reading a newspaper, for goodness sake. It allows us a moment, a rather large moment, I might add, of quieting down, of paying attention, of being focused, of, of being clear about what we're looking at and really studying it. And it's a respite. It is a wonderful, beautiful respite from the craziness that we can experience. So that if one can even put certain hours aside during the week to say, I'm just going to draw today for an hour or two, it is a wonderful, and I'll use that word again, respite from the busy life. Now, I'll add one more anecdote, and then you can ask whatever questions you may have with the audience. I'll give you a really wonderful anecdote, one of my favorites. When I first started teaching some 33 years ago, I taught at the College of San Mateo, which is a junior college. And there I had a wide variety of students in terms of age and demographics. I had given them the homework assignment of drawing a form, a rather complicated form of nature with what's known as cross contour. It's a line that kind of travels everywhere, if you will. And I said to them, I want you to work on a given object of nature for at least an hour so you really understand it. Now, with drawing, there's always mistakes, always. You talked about problem solving. So drawing is very much that. But if the student thinks to themselves, I'm not making a drawing, I'm having an experience, everything shifts. So this is really not about just having a drawing, a product that you can hang on your wall. It's really more about having an experience. So the next week, this one student, this middle-aged woman, I've forgotten her name, but I could see her clearly. She came in to talk with me, Sandra. She was very excited. I said, why are you so excited? She goes, I did the homework, as you asked, and I drew a conch shell that I had found, and I put that conch shell years ago on the mantelpiece above my fireplace. She goes, it's really one of my favorite objects, but you know what, Mark? I've never really seen it. Now I know that conch shell intimately. I know every contour, every little nook and cranny of that seashell. Now when I look at it, I really know it, and I really see it. That, in one anecdote, is the reason why drawing is so powerful. It allows us to see more clearly than ever before with practice.
Do you think, like, for me, for example, I'm an abstract, non-objective painter. How helpful will it be for someone who is not figurative, right? And I know that you spoke about this could be for beginners, for, you know, for any level. How would that inform my abstraction or non-objective work?
It really depends on the individual. And I'm not going to say that this course is for everyone. In fact, I'll say the opposite. I'll say this course is not for everyone. And it's not for certain painters who really don't have a desire to draw. They're happy with what they're doing. They're happy with the marks they're making, with the shapes that they're playing with. They're happy with the colors they're using. They're content with what they're doing. It's really not for them. And there's no problem there whatsoever. Now, I can speak to myself and my own experience, and that might help answer your question. So I drew from observation for many years, and I painted from observation for many years in a rather traditional way, well before I worked abstractly. But I've been working abstractly since the mid-'80s now, and I still draw from observation, but I continue to work abstractly. Why am I saying this? Because all of my drawing experiences of lots of things has helped me tremendously in my abstract painting, whether it's how I see shape or how I design the composition, perhaps the line quality that I'm using with a brush. There are certain forms that might come in my abstractions that are clearly a derivative from my memory and imagination from drawing from observation. And so in a way, my imagination, my memory of life, of things around me is really rich from all the drawing. And it cannot help but come out in my non-representational work. It just cannot. So if a non-representational painter has an interest in things like form, volume, light, shadow, spatial depth, all the things that we have to consider when we're drawing, it can be
You just said
It,
that. That's
it could
exactly
be
what
an
I was looking
enormous
for. Thank you.
aid. And again, I'll come back to this idea that sharpens the eye. It is a different muscle altogether. And I won't lie to you, there are lots of moments of frustration in drawing, just as there would be in learning to play the piano and hitting all the wrong notes before you get the right notes. So there is that, but there's great joy in being able to pay attention, slow down, see what's before us.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that drawing gives you that. And how did you decide, or who was your inspiration, I guess, growing up, or even now, in that area, like the drawing? What drew you to keep on drawing as an adult and not as a child? But you, like you said, you're one of the
Mm-hmm.
few that kept going. Who did you look up to? Why did you keep
My
going?
father, who's still alive at 96, he was a professional photographer. And as a child, I would go into his, he had an actual studio downtown where he did portrait photography, but he's also a journalist as well, a photojournalist. And I can remember as a kid going into the darkroom and watching that magic happen with the images. But he also, this is going back to the 50s and 60s, he also fancied himself as an artist, which he was a pretty good artist. I remember still there was a painting he did that was a knockoff of Jackson Pollock over our fireplace. It was a drip painting. So, I had that background. And then when I remember I was probably around 10 or so, and they saw that I could draw things three-dimensionally. There was a sense of, and I would doodle a lot. And then comic books like a lot of boys do. But anyway, they saw that I had this, I guess you could call it a skill set or a desire. And so they enrolled me in a special course. I remember that. Now it's the first time I thought of that in probably most of my life. No one's ever asked me that question in a long time. And so I was taught, a little bit about perspective at a fairly young age. So that just kept me drawing. So by the time I was a junior or a senior in high school, I was keeping a sketchbook just for the fun of it. I didn't really think that I was going to go into become an artist, but I was just doing it for the love of it. And so that's how that transpired.
And I know you have a beautiful, amazing library of books. And I think that maybe 3/4 of your move is books. The amount of boxes that are in your studio with only books. Who do you recommend, or that you keep going back to see their strokes and drawings, and who feeds your
Well, the first thing I
soul?
would say before going to the books, and I will go there, is that I was fortunate, Sandra, when I came out here from Virginia, right out of high school, and I started my studies as an 18-year-old, and I had really good mentors. I had my first mentor was a man named Fred Holly at Kenyatta College, and Fred's still alive. He's still, I think he's in his late 80s or early 90s now. So he was a great, great teacher. And then when I went down to UC Santa Barbara to study my junior and senior year, I had a really wonderful mentor named Howard Warshaw, and then another named Irma Cabot. So I had really good teachers, a really good foundation. And they turned me on to all kinds of artists. They were very much into that. Now, I'll be honest, I am from the European tradition, which is no great surprise. Most people who study at the time I did. But I'm also interested in art from all over the world because I've traveled a lot. But in terms of books, so rather than go into the art that I have looked at, because there's a very long list and that we could take the rest of the hour doing that. In terms of instructional books, a lot of the books are geared towards the figure, but some are not. So for instance, a fellow named Mendowitz and Dwayne Waitman got together and put together, and by the way, in the language of drawing course, we have a bibliography. So I have a long list
Oh, that's
of
fantastic.
books that I recommend. Some of them are instructional and some of them are inspirational, like the one I just showed you. So for instance, Nicolaides wrote a book called The Natural Way to Draw. One of the first books I had, great book. Betty Edwards wrote a wonderful book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, which is a great book. I mentioned Dwayne Wakeman and Mendowitz as a good instructional book. I've even offered perspective in the course, so there's a book on perspective. Now, it's interesting, I will note this, that in the language of drawing, we do not cover the figure for the most part, because that would really be a separate course. It would have to involve anatomy and so on and so forth. However, all the techniques, all the concepts and the strategies that the artist would learn through the course can most definitely be applied to the human figure. And I also have some videos that we've added at the end, Sandra, which has demos on drawing the figure.
So the line, the contour, the volumes, the shading, all of that.
Purposely didn't spend that time putting a chapter together on the figure, because I would have to assume, first of all, that the artist would have access to the figure. And not a lot of people do. But a lot of people do have access, and that's why we did include figure drawing as kind of the later element of the course. Yeah.
Yes. And do you happen to have any examples in your studio now of what you've been working on? Or I would love to
all right, let me do this here. Bear with me.
Yep. And remember just to switch the camera around so we know, we see what you're seeing.
All right, I'm going to unplug here. I'm going to flip it around here. How's that? Well, so very quickly.
That's fantastic.
I still haven't removed the paintings from the wall, so there's a wall of paint. So you can see I have been able to get artwork done, even though we're busy with other things. And here are, this is the artwork that's being packed. This is just my private collection of friends' artwork that we're getting ready to pack up. And here's our packing station right here.
Oh my gosh. Are you guys
doing a lot
all
of it? And then I have a student from the school where I teach coming this weekend to help you, and he did last week. Before I get to the drawings, I was invited to, I had a commission, Sandra, for creating a wine label for Imagery Winery out of Sonoma. And so these are three potential pieces, and we chose, the curator and I chose this as the label for the wine. So I'm really happy. It's very colorful, very, very kind of, vibrant.
Wow. Is it
I never know until the wine, the wine will be about a year away from right now. So it just depends. They're the ones that choose. I've been lucky. I've done 2 labels in the past. They ended up being red wines, which I like. Here and I'm with them as well. 3 others. This will be my 4th label. Okay, so drawing. So I like to draw the figure, but I also like to draw botanical forms. And I'll show.
And what do you use?
This is the plant that I was studying right here. Right there. So the red, my friend, is candid crayon, which has been around since the Renaissance. And I start with that, and then you bet.
Can you move in a little closer, Mark? Is that possible? Wow, look at that detail. Oh, it's magnificent.
Well, the red is
I'm sorry, tell me about the red.
It's called candid crayon. And they come in different shades of red, orange, and orange. I love it. I love the warmth of it, the look of it, the feel of it. And then I go back in with pencil on top. This one here is a different plant, and that's just with charcoal.
It almost looks like the anatomy of the plant.
Well,
you can see the inside.
I see them as very figurative, you see. That's the thing about them. So I do see it. And then my most recent one is a larger piece. This is quite a big piece. This is just charcoal. And this, I'm going to say that this drawing, I'm going to move back so you can see the whole thing. There we go. This drawing I'm particularly happy with, and I can tell you why. A lot of my drawings are really heavily labored, and I do a lot of erasing and go back in. This one came together very quickly. I only did 2 passes, and I nailed it. I'm saying,
Wow.
this is the third drawing of the 3, and I really felt with this one that it really came
It all
together,
came
Sandra,
together.
so quickly and beautifully. I didn't have to erase. I didn't have to make a mess of things. I was just so, for some reason, focused on this, and it just really came together. And I'll tell the artists out there that one of the main things that I teach is how to see the spaces in between. So,
That's what I was just going to say, because the spaces in between create their own shapes. And those are as important as the actual, thing that object that you're drawing. Because I think that you almost could start with the spaces
well
in
said.
between.
When I draw now, I see both the positive and the negative simultaneously. I don't see just one or the other. And that takes a little time in doing and practice, but it really is about seeing the spaces in between. That is so important.
And then when you see that, you can see some non-objective work
Yeah.
in there. It's interesting how it goes.
Yes,
hand
I'm going to
in
put
hand.
you back here. It is seen abstractly, and this is one of the things that I teach in drawing, is that at the core of what it's about, it is about seeing abstractly. I'm going to bring you back here if I might. Is that okay? Maria, you
Yes,
going to help
yes.
out here a little bit? Thanks. So yes, there is this idea of seeing things flat, seeing them abstractly, and we teach that in the course quite a bit.
And your line work is superb. I mean, I've taken your language of color and design, and your exercises in line work come very naturally to you. So if you haven't taken those courses, I highly recommend you looking at them as well. It will inform you and give you incredible information to your own practice. And so what do we do what are we looking for in your course? How is it going to work? How many weeks? Like,
question.
How is that going to work out?
So what we have created is a course with 6 chapters. Once the artist buys the course, they own it, and they can go at their own pace.
So it's the same as the language of color and the language of design, that you own it,
Yeah.
which is fantastic, because you can go on your own pace and do it.
Well, Maria is
on
making
your own time.
a distinction here.
You can access it forever.
She says you can access it forever. She's making the distinction between owning it and accessing it forever. But my way of thinking is you do have access to it forever. We own the course. You have access forever. Now, because it's in 6 chapters, an artist who, let's say, has the time and the desire to put in a number of hours each week, they potentially could make their way through the course in, I'm going to say, a few months or even 6 weeks. But they're not going to be able to digest everything in 6 weeks. It's just like the piano, let's be clear. So my advice to people who are buying the course is to take your time. Each chapter is loaded. It is loaded.
I was just going to ask you that. So each chapter has its own ABC.
Very much so. And I work sequentially. So there's a lot of layering, Sandra, that goes on between chapter 1, 2, 3, etc. So my advice to any artist is to take their time with each chapter. Don't rush through this course at all.
Is it easy to navigate? Like, let's say you finish your first one. Like, do you know that you finish your first one to go into the second one? Is it like an easy way to for
Yes,
the
that's
student
that's
to
what we
understand
work
it?
very hard on doing, is making sure that the sequence from one chapter to the next is, I won't use the word seamless, but it is layered in such a way that they dovetail very nice one into the other. And the other thing about it is that each chapter, because it does have different techniques, concepts, and strategies, can be reapplied and practiced constantly throughout one's lifetime. You never stop just doing one thing. And so, for instance, there might be in chapter 1 just the study of line, the use of contour line. And then it might go the next time into cross contour, which can then lead into hatching. So that one technique takes you into the other, takes you into the other, takes you into the other. Eventually we come in with light and shadow, etc. So it does become layered. It does become more complex. The subject matters are anything from still life to perspective. There's a wide range there. And so, yes, the student can take as long as they want. And this is really important, and I'll tell you why. In the language of color, we made kind of a mistake when we were putting it out there. We said it's a 6-week course, and I think that was a mistake, and that's why in the language of design we said it's a 6-chapter course, just because artists were beginning to get stressed out about where they were in the course. And the whole point of how we like to teach is, and I have said this, but not to you and your audience, what I've attempted to do is, because I've taught at the college, Sandra, for so long, what I've attempted to do in all 3 courses, particularly this one, is to offer the artist the equivalent of an entire semester's curriculum, which is usually about 15 or 16 weeks. And I've worked very hard to make sure that they're getting the equivalent of a very high-end college education for a fraction of the cost. Because now college, particularly one I'm working at and others like it, are many thousands of dollars just to take one class. So I figured that we can make that same curriculum available for people who want to really learn at a mere fraction of that cost. And that's what we've done. We've really loaded this thing up.
And what I think it's a huge difference, and you will find is, I hope that you not walk but run today and and subscribe and register to your language of drawing class. But I think that what distinguishes you from others is that you do have access through a lifetime, and drawing is something that you take very seriously. It takes a very technical teacher to be able to explain, and I know that you are that person that explains with a lot of patience and a lot of care, and you're not just throwing out information. You really care for your students. You have, as a student that I have been, we have access to you. We have, if we have questions, you answer them, and that really distinguish you from other, teachers out there, because you make yourself very affordable.
And by the way, and thank you for saying that. Also, in terms of being there for the student, it's important to mention this, that we are going to be doing with this particular course a live Q&A, questions and answers, a live Q&A. Is it every other week, Maria?
Yes.
Once it's released, which is April 15th, for how many months? 6 months?
6 months.
For 6 months, every other week, we're conducting a live Q&A on Zoom for 1 hour for the students. So that's when they can.
You are very,
this is
very generous. That's
going to be a
have to
challenging
say.
course. I love that fact, and I don't want to scare people off like, oh, I can't do this. Trust me, you can, but only if you have desire. It's only for artists who have a desire to draw. That's it. I'll make it very simple. So yes, we provide that kind of support for the first 6 months. Every 2 weeks, we'll have a live Zoom for 1 hour, and people can check in. And then thereafter, just as you mentioned, people can email me at any time, and within 24 to 48 hours, I get back to them.
So where
So
do people
we
go
have a
to
new
register?
website now. It's called Mark Eanes Academy. So my name is M-A-R-K, last name is E-A-N-E-S. And so if they go to markeanesacademy.com, they'll find it. And if they happen to go to my website, which is markeanes.com, there's a link there as well.
And as always, you've been so generous, and we have a painting
Yeah,
that you are donating, and the money will go to Feeding America.
I do.
Do you
So I
happen to
will
have
show
it with
you.
you?
Let's do the big O.
So if anyone is interested in purchasing this incredible artwork by Mark Eanes, we are asking $200 for this incredible artwork that will go straight into Feeding America. You will be helping so many people in need of food. As we always talk about here, this is my army of artists. I couldn't do this without you guys. So Mark, thank you so much. I'm gonna turn on comments, and please let me know if you're interested in purchasing this incredible artwork by Mark. And can you talk to us a
Sure.
little bit about that piece, Mark?
So I like to work big scale, but I also like to work small, as you can see. So the dimensions on this, by the way, is 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches. It's matted in a nice mat, which is 12 by 12 inches. And it's one of many designs that I create. Sometimes these designs will become larger paintings, possibly, or little studies for that. This one's entitled The Blue Pea, because there's a little pea that's nestled up against that black shape, which I kind of a figurative shape, if you will, you know.
Yes,
Um,
100%.
so
Yes, I
yeah,
love
I'm not
that.
sure what this little black figure is, but I rather like it. It's nestled up against the blue pea.
Yes, exactly. So please DM me or Mark if you want to purchase this. Again, we're asking $200. 100% of the proceeds will go to Feeding America. Together, we have raised over $35,000, more than 350,000 meals for people in need. And as we know, Mark, the food problem in this country is just getting bigger and bigger. 1 in every 4 of our neighbors is in need of food. And so for me, it's very, very important. So if you feel that you want to buy this art and help people in need, please DM me or Mark, and we'll give you instructions on what to do next. I'm going to open the panel now for questions.
Please.
If you have any questions for Mark, this will be a great time to ask. Also, Mark, what materials are the students going to need to have in order
We've kept it
to take your
very
class?
simple, Sandra, to be quite honest, very simple. A variety of graphite pencils, charcoal pencils, some charcoal sticks or chalks, a sketchbook, some larger paper, either 16 by 20 or 18 by 24, and some kind of clipboard to put that on and in. And Maria, isn't that about it? Then things like erasers and so on and so forth. But it's going to be it's not going to be expensive at all. It's not like buying a whole bunch of paints. So we've kept it simple. Ballpoint pens for those who want to work with ballpoint pens as well. So that's the beauty of drawing. It's really fresh and immediate. And that's something we didn't talk about. But what I love about drawing is the immediacy of it. Painting can take you hours, days, weeks. A wonderful drawing can happen in just a few moments, really, if it's just a sketch. And it's a way of thinking and conceptualizing as well. We didn't talk about that. Not just representational. It's a way to think about things and to sort of figure.
What about like the examples on the objects and stuff? Will you be providing that?
We provide,
or
yes, we
how does
provide
that
lots
work?
of objects for the artist to consider. Either the same objects that we're using, or they can pick their own to work from. And eventually we did go into perspective and into landscape. So we take them outdoors with drawing after we teach them about design and composition, how to break up the picture plane, for instance. So there's lots of work there as well.
That's fantastic. And any other information that you want to provide us
Oh
with?
my goodness, any other information? Well, I'm waiting to see if anyone wants to chat with me. There'll be.
I know people don't be shy. Ask questions. This is the time
And
and the place to ask questions. So there's a lot of people here, and I think that they're a little shy. But
please.
if you do have questions for Mark, seriously, just if it's not in this platform because you don't want to be open about it here, I'm sure that Mark will be available for any questions if you message him directly. But this is the time right now. I'm guessing that you talked about, maybe drawing between 1 and 2 hours per day. Is that something that you really believe in? Is that what you think it's
Someone
going to
just
take?
asked, is the color course a lifetime access to? And the answer is yes, as well as the language of design. So by all means, to your audience, I would ask them if they are more interested in color or learning about design. By all means, take a look at, we have landing pages for both of those courses at the Marquines Academy. So they can go there, and the landing page is actually quite substantial. It really goes into all the chapters, and the artist can see what's in each chapter. So just
Right. And I can tell you, Julie, that I've taken his courses and they are so informative and so great, and you will learn so much. There's so many designs, and I mean, there's so many videos and instruction. And like I said, you have it for a long, long time. So
so,
it's
so
forever,
as long as we're around.
pretty
So
much.
Sandra, I'll answer your question. Maria's giving me a little nudge here. The early bird special we have, by the way, on the language of color, excuse me, the language of drawing, we have an early bird special. It lasts until April the 15th, and it's the artist can save $100 off the course. The course costs what normally?
Okay, you heard that.
It's until
You
April
heard
15th, you get
that.
$100 off. That's our early bird special. April 15th is the cutoff date. Yeah.
So April 15th, it's your cutoff date. So I highly recommend you going. We have Pat that already seems like he is ready to go and excited to begin. So I'm super excited for that. And, I think there's a lot of buzz around this course. And I myself, I'm considering taking it and taking the time and space and trying to focus on something that will give me so much joy and so much information
Now, I
for
forgot
my
to answer.
own
I didn't
career.
forget. I will answer your question. You asked about how much time to practice. And the answer to that is it really
Yes.
depends on the individual, obviously. It depends on how busy they are with their own life. So if someone is, let's say, retired and has a lot of time on their hands, clearly they would be able to put in time most every day if they wanted to, if that was their desire. I always come back, Sandra, to desire. It rules every
Right.
decision we make, particularly as artists. So if someone doesn't have that kind of time, but they have the desire to, say, draw on the weekend, maybe they set a few hours aside for the weekend. And 1 to 2 hours is a good amount of time, but some people like to put in even more, you see. So it really hinges on one's lifestyle, their obligations and responsibilities, clearly, and then finally on their desire, you see. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay. So let's show the
Okay.
painting one more time
May
before
I
we
offer
go.
one for consideration?
And yes, of course.
So
Oh my goodness, we might have
this one's
two
entitled
for
Big
two
O.
people. Wow, I love that.
It's all
Is that
mixed media, as is the other
collage?
one. So this is
Mixed
called
media.
Big O. The other
Okay.
one is the Blue P. Clearly, I was in. Uh,
Okay. So I'm going to put them up in my stories again, but
Yeah.
remember that, and let's show the,
Blue pea.
what was it, the pea? The blue pea. The blue pea, because we're seeing it backwards,
Yes, there
the
is.
pea, but there is a
It's
pea in
nestled
there
up
if you
against
can
that
see it.
kind of wonderful black face or dark face.
Exactly, exactly. So if you are interested in either of these two pieces or both of them, we're asking $200 for each one of them. You will make a difference for Feeding America, and we will be happy. It will be a done kind of thing. And Mark, I can't thank you enough for your time today, always answering my questions with such candid, and just, you're just a beautiful human being inside and out.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks for having me back.
Of course. I'll keep having you back. I'll keep nudging you and having you
in my
back.
new studio
So,
in Virginia.
I can't wait.
Great.
That will be my next stop, to just come and stay with you guys and paint there and draw with you.
All right.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be great. Good luck with your move. Good luck with everything. Send my love to Maria. We love you guys. And again, just DM me or Mark for more information.
And please, to your audience, please let them know that we are accessible. If they have any questions or they want to just get in touch with us, I'm available. It's just mark@markeens.com or Mark.
Yep, I'm gonna put it in the comments, and I'm gonna do a little story with the link directly to the Academy. So so make sure you do it before April 15th if you want to be an early bird and save $100 on Mark's course. So just have that, in your mind before April 15th. Thank you again.
All right.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Have a great Saturday. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.